Jai Hind, dear children. We'll continue with our lesson, and today we'll be doing chapter 2, that is the dignity of labor. Now, dignity of labor means having respect for all kinds of work, okay, whether the work is big or small, but respecting all of them. So let's begin. The dignity of labor makes one realize that everyone can contribute his or her share of work for the betterment of the society. So, a person who has dignity of labor, a person who respects his work, will be able to contribute to make his or her society a better one. Okay? A man with dignity of labor will enjoy and take pride in his work, no matter of what kind it is. Okay, so a man who respects his work will also enjoy doing his work, okay, and will take pride in it, will be proud of his work, no matter the work is big or small. We must be happy to do any type of work. Our love for the dignity of labor will enable us to move forward on the path of progress. Okay, so we must all be happy when we are doing our work. Okay, whatever work we do, we should be happy to do it. And our love for our work will enable us to move forward on the path of progress. Now, what is progress? Progress is again moving forward with improvement. Okay. Great man is known by his deeds. So great people, they are known because of their deeds, isn't it? A person who contributes to his society with his good deeds is being remembered by everyone, even after he has passed away. Okay. George Washington was the general of the American Army. He was very kind, sympathetic, and humble towards all. He was very simple and generous. His name is still loved and honored by all Americans. He was the first president of the United States. Okay, so George Washington, he was the general of the American Army. Okay, general means the senior most leader. Okay, so he was the general of the American Army. And what kind of person was he? He was very sympathetic, kind, and humble. All right, he was a very simple and generous means always ready to give, to provide help to other people. All right, and then his name is still loved and honored by all Americans. Okay, because of his good deeds, isn't it? So he's still remembered by all the people of America. And he was also the first president of the United States. One day George Washington was riding along a road, dressed like an ordinary man. He saw some soldiers trying to lift a heavy log of wood, but they could not move it. They were being supervised by a sergeant who sat on a horse nearby. Okay, so one day as George Washington was riding along a road, although he was the general of the American Army, isn't it? But then he had dressed himself like an ordinary man, like a simple man. Okay, and then on his way, he saw some soldiers. And what were those soldiers doing? They were trying to lift heavy log of wood. All right, but they could not move it. They were not being able to move that heavy log of wood. They were being supervised. Supervised means to be being looked over by someone senior. All right, so they were being supervised by a sergeant who sat on a horse nearby. He was giving them only instructions every now and then. The sergeant was shouting and even whipped the young soldiers. His act was inhuman. Okay, so this sergeant, he was only instructing the soldiers, okay? And then he was even shouting at them, and he even whipped. Whipped means to beat, okay? So he was even beating those young soldiers. And then his act was very inhuman, very cruel, unkind. All right? The soldiers were sweating and perspiring by the sergeant, but the sergeant did not do anything to help them. Okay, so these soldiers, they were working very hard. They were sweating, pasina nikalna. Okay, so they were sweating and perspiring, but then the sergeant, he did nothing to help them. Washington asked the sergeant, "Why don't you help them?" The sergeant said, "Don't you know that I'm an officer? How can I work with these soldiers?" Washington replied, "I beg your pardon, officer. I did not know that you are such a great man." Okay, so when Washington, he saw all these things happening, okay, so he goes up to the sergeant and he asks them, "Why don't you go and help them instead of just watching?" So this sergeant, he's very arrogant, full of attitude. ghamandi insan. Okay, so he's telling that, don't you know I'm an officer? How can you expect me to go and help these soldiers? All right. So to this, Washington replies that, I beg your pardon, officer. So out here, like, see, I beg your pardon means when you're unable to hear what someone has said, you want them to repeat, isn't it? But out here, I beg your pardon, officer means, sorry, officer, I did not know that you are such a great man. All right. Okay, so next, George Washington got off his horse and without saying a word joined the soldiers in pushing that log, and the log rolled down. The soldiers thanked this unknown person. Okay, so George Washington, after the surgeon told him those things, okay, that he was an officer, and then how can you expect me to go and help these soldiers? So after listening to all that, George Washington, what does he do? He just got off his horse without saying a word, and then he just joined those soldiers to help them. And then soon, and the log rolled down. The soldiers thanked this unknown person. Okay, so very soon the log, it rolled down, and the soldiers, they were very much happy and thankful to this unknown person. And who was this unknown person? It was George Washington. The sergeant asked him, who are you? Why did you help these soldiers? Your personality is quite impressive, and you also look like an officer. This type of labor was below the dignity of a man like you. Okay, so now the sergeant, he was surprised. Okay, he saw that this unknown man, he just came in and he started helping these soldiers. So that's why he asks him, who are you? Why did you help these soldiers? Although your personality means the way you look. Okay, your personality is very impressive. You also look like an officer, and this kind of work, this kind of job was below your dignity. Okay. Washington replied, Sir, I am your general, George Washington. You thought that this job was below your dignity. If you need help again, send for me. So now see, George Washington, all this while he had disguised himself like an ordinary man, isn't it? But then now he is telling the truth. That is, he tells the surgeon that I am your general and my name is George Washington. Okay. So, and you said that this kind of work was below your dignity, isn't it? So fine, from now onwards, if you need any such help, you can always call for me. You can always call me. The surgeon trembled with fear. So now see, the surgeon, after he gets to know that the person he was talking to was his own general, so now he trembled with fear. Trembled means to shake with fear. Okay. All the people standing there were also stunned and saluted him. See, so the people, they were also stunned, shocked. Okay, and then all of a sudden, all at once, they saluted him. The sergeant looked around, humiliated. Humiliated means ashamed. So the sergeant, he was very much ashamed of whatever he said, whatever he did, isn't it? George Washington did the labor which was below his dignity, but this made him honored by all. So George Washington, although the work he did was below his dignity, isn't it? But still, this work made him honored, made him respected even more by everybody. So, dear children, we have learned from above story that no work is big or small. It is only our attitude which makes it look big or small. So, children, from this story, what do we get to learn? That no work is big or small. Okay, it's only our attitude. It's only our thinking, the way we think, the way we look at things that makes it look big or small. Okay, we must be happy to do any type of work. We should never feel ashamed to do any kind of job suited to our physique and skill. Physique means your physical appearance, whether you look whether you look tall, short, fat, thin, whatever. All right. God loves those who earn their living by hard work. So even God loves those people very much who are very much hardworking. Okay. So this chapter, we've come to the end of this chapter. So this chapter, it tells us such a good story. It was such a good story. It gives us such a good moral, isn't it? So with this, we've come to the end, and as you can see, I have underlined few words, isn't it? So as usual, that is for your spellings. All right, and since this is a new chapter, you will again give the date on top, write the chapter's number, chapter's name correctly, give the correct name and number. All right, and then you begin writing spellings first. All right, then below you can see the word meanings are given there from the book. And in your word meanings, just look at the third word, that is sympathetic. It's written have money, which is wrong. Okay, there's a printing mistake here, so instead of that I've just cut that out and I've written there feeling or showing pity and concern. Okay, so you'll write that. If you want, you can take a screenshot, and I've even sent it in the group, so you can check that out later. And next is, I've given you, this is your worksheet, alright. Make sentences with the given words and fill in the blanks. Make sentences, you can frame your own sentences as well if you wish, okay? But then if you make your own sentences, make sure that you send it to me, alright, so that I can check it. So you'll do these make sentences in your copy, okay, in your exercise book. Fill in the blanks, you have to do it in your books alone, okay? No need to do this in your copy, just do it in your books. And next is answer the following questions. These question answers you'll be doing in your exercise book, in your English reader exercise book. So children, if you face any confusion or you have any queries, you can call me directly, okay, or message me, you can ask me.